I had no idea how a single mistake could change the course of my life. It was supposed to be just another ordinary afternoon at the hospital. I had come to visit my friend, who had been admitted after a minor surgery. My hands trembled slightly as I held a small fruit basket, rehearsing in my mind what words of encouragement I would offer. The corridor smelled faintly of antiseptic, and the sound of beeping monitors echoed in the distance. I glanced at the room numbers, 306, 307, 308. My friend's room was supposed to be 309. I stopped outside the door, my heart a little heavy, and gently pushed it open. But the scene before me froze my steps. A young man, strikingly handsome, yet pale from illness, lay quietly on the hospital bed. The monitors beside him beeped rhythmically, and tubes connected him to life-giving machines. His eyes were closed, his chest rising and falling slowly. At first I thought I had the wrong person, but before I could retreat, his eyes flickered open. I gasped, caught between fear and embarrassment. I'm sorry. I think I entered the wrong room, I whispered, already turning back toward Day. The door. But then it happened. His lips moved weakly, and in a voice soft yet filled with an emotion I couldn't name, he whispered, "I've waited for you." My hand froze on the doorknob. His gaze was fixed on me, not confused, not delirious, but certain, as if he had known me all his life. A chill ran down my spine. My mind screamed at me to leave, to find the right room, to escape the intensity of those words. And yet, something rooted me to the spot. Something in his voice, in the weight of that single sentence, made me feel as though destiny had deliberately led me here. I swallowed hard, my heart pounding. Who was this man? And why did he look at me as if I were the missing piece of his story? For a moment, silence filled the room, broken only by the steady hum of machines. My breath caught in my throat as I slowly turned back to face him. His eyes, dark, deep, and intense, followed me as though afraid I might disappear if he blinked. I don't know you, I stammered, clutching the fruit basket tighter. You must be mistaken. But his lips curved faintly, almost like a tired smile. No mistake, he whispered, his voice gravelly, as though each word cost him strength. I know you. I've waited for you. My pulse raced. Something about the certainty in his tone made my skin prickle. I stepped closer, drawn by an invisible thread I couldn't explain. I'm sorry, I said softly, but I really think you've confused me with someone else. I shouldn't even be here. That's where you're wrong. His voice, though weak, carried authority, the kind that made people stop and listen. You were meant to be here. Fate doesn't make mistakes. I blinked, baffled. Fate, destiny. I was just an ordinary girl, working 2 jobs to make ends meet, barely managing to keep my life together. What did fate have to do with me and a man lying in a hospital bed? Suddenly, a nurse walked in, adjusting his IV. She smiled politely at me, but then turned to him with respect in her voice. Mr. Rayan, please don't strain yourself. You need rest. Mr. Rayan. The name rang in my ears. My heart lurched as I connected the dots. Everyone in the city knew that name, Rayan Malik, the elusive CEO of one of the largest business empires in the country. The man on the cover of magazines, whispered about in boardrooms, admired and envied by millions. And here he was, fragile and pale in a hospital gown, speaking to me as if I was someone his heart had longed for. The nurse left, and silence fell again. My legs felt weak. You're Rayan Malik, I asked, disbelief lacing my words. His gaze didn't waver. Yes, but to you, I hope I can just be Rayan. I wanted to run, to escape the intensity of this moment, but my heart wouldn't let me. Questions swirled in my mind, louder than the beeping monitors. Why did the most powerful man I'd ever heard of look at me as if I belonged to him? Why did he say he'd been waiting for me? And perhaps the most terrifying question of all, what if he was telling the truth? The room felt smaller with every second I stayed inside. The weight of his gaze, the echo of his words, and the sheer impossibility of this moment pressed against my chest. He was the Rayyan Malik, the man who, according to news articles, turned a failing family company into a billion-dollar empire before he even turned 30. A man of steel, they called him. Cold, calculated, ruthless in the boardroom. And yet, as he lay in that bed, fragile but strangely serene, there was nothing ruthless about him. Only vulnerability. Why me? The question slipped out before I could stop it. Why would someone like you say you've been waiting for me? He studied me in silence for a long time. Then, with effort, he shifted slightly, wincing as he adjusted his position. Because I've seen you before, he whispered. Not in person, but in a way no one would believe. My brow furrowed. What do you mean? He exhaled slowly, his eyes closing for a moment, as if pulling memories from somewhere deep. Years ago, I was in an accident. They told me I was unconscious for weeks, but in that darkness, I wasn't gone. I dreamed, or maybe it was more than a dream. I heard a voice, soft and trembling, talking to me, comforting me, and I saw a face, faint, but clear enough to remember. My chest tightened. His words shouldn't have made sense, and yet every syllable struck me with eerie familiarity. That face. His eyes opened again, piercing mine. It was yours. A chill rushed through me. I shook my head, half in denial, half in fear. That's impossible. We've never met. Maybe not in the way the world counts meetings, he said quietly. But the heart knows what it knows, and mine has waited for you since then. I couldn't breathe. I didn't know whether to laugh, to cry, or to run, because deep inside me, a strange flicker of recognition stirred. I remembered a time, 2 years ago, when my younger brother had been in a coma. I spent nights in the hospital, chapel, whispering prayers and words of comfort to strangers in nearby rooms, hoping somehow my own prayers would be answered. I remembered walking past a room once, pausing because I felt drawn. I had whispered a few words at the door, not knowing who was inside, only hoping they found peace. Could it be him? I swallowed hard, my voice barely audible. Maybe you just imagined me. His smile was faint but sure. Maybe. But if it was imagination, then why does your presence feel like coming home? The words sank into me like sunlight breaking through a storm. I didn't want to admit how deeply they unsettled me, how a part of me wanted to believe him. Before I could answer, the door opened again. A man in a sharp suit entered, his expression tense. He glanced at me, then back at Rayyan. Sir, the doctors want to discuss your discharge plan. Discharge? He was leaving soon? Relief and disappointment tangled in my chest. Rayyan waved him off weakly. Later. His gaze never left mine. Please. Don't go yet. I hesitated, my hand tightening on the doorknob again. Everything in me screamed that I didn't belong here, that our worlds were galaxies apart. Yet something stronger whispered that leaving now would mean losing something I didn't even understand, and so, against all reason, I stayed. The air in the room thickened with silence after the suited man left. I sat gingerly on the chair beside his bed, setting the forgotten fruit basket on the table. My heart drummed so loudly I was sure he could hear it. He studied me with eyes that seemed to see beyond my face, beyond my defenses. You don't believe me, he said softly. I don't know what to believe, I admitted. This doesn't make sense. You're you. And I'm nobody. A shadow crossed his face, a flicker of pain that had nothing to do with his physical wounds.
Do you think being a CEO makes me someone? Do you know how empty my life feels, despite all the power and wealth? He looked away for a moment, his jaw tight. People surround me for what I can give them. But when I wake in the middle
of the night, drowning in silence, there's no one who truly sees me. No one who cares beyond the name and the empire. His voice cracked on that last word, and for the first time, I realized just how lonely he must have been. The magazines never showed this, the raw, aching truth of a man who had everything yet nothing. And suddenly, I didn't see a billionaire CEO lying before me. I saw a man, weary, fragile, aching to be seen for who he was. I leaned forward, my words trembling. Maybe I don't know your world. Maybe I can't even imagine it. But right now, you don't seem like a stranger to me. His eyes lit faintly, like embers catching fire. Then don't be one. Stay. It was such a simple request, and yet it tore at my heart. Stay. How could I? I had bills to pay, responsibilities waiting outside this hospital. And yet, the thought of leaving him here, alone, felt unbearable. I nodded slowly. For a little while, I whispered. And in that moment, his hand, weak but steady, reached for mine. Our fingers touched, and it was as if the world outside ceased to exist. The monitors beeped in rhythm with his heartbeat, and mine seemed to sync with it. For the first time in years, I felt something awaken inside me, something tender, something terrifying. As I sat there, holding the hand of the most powerful man I had ever met, I realized that maybe fate really didn't make mistakes. Maybe I hadn't walked into the wrong room after all. Maybe I had finally walked into the right one.